You arrived without a shadow, in a kingdom made of them.
I was born this way.
I know. That's why I crossed the room.
Before kingdoms were built of stone, they were built of bargains. The Fae did not pray to gods, they made contracts with them, and some contracts could never be undone. Thousands of years ago, the royal bloodline of House Vaelthorn made one such bargain to imprison a cosmic predator inside their own blood. Every generation, one prince would carry it, and that prince could never be free. Prince Kael had never known a morning without the weight of it. The second shadow never slept. It never left. It whispered names of the dead and sometimes names of those not yet gone. He had learned not to flinch, not to react, because reacting meant others would ask what he saw and no answer he could give would not terrify them. The court of House Vaelthorn had not spoken openly of the shadow in a century. They pretended it was tradition, a birthright, as if a predator in chains was the same as a gift. The king said to Kael, "The sorcerer's daughter arrives today. You will attend the reception."
And if the shadow reacts to her, it won't. You will see to that.
He had been given orders before. Follow protocol. Do not reveal the shadow's strength. Do not touch the artifacts in the East Wing. But this one was different. He could feel it before she had even arrived. Sorcerer Aldrich had served the court for 40 years. His daughter had never once set foot inside the castle. The court had heard of her. None of them had been prepared. She stepped into their world as if she had always belonged somewhere just beyond it, and every shadow in the courtyard leaned ever so slightly away from her. He had not expected silence. In 30 years, the shadow had never once gone quiet. Not during war, not during death, not during anything. Until now. The court of Vaelthorn was practiced at showing nothing. It was their finest art, 1,000 years of masking, hunger, fear, and want behind flawless faces. But even they could not quite manage it tonight. She had grown up knowing what she was, the girl without a shadow, the girl death had marked before she could speak. She had long since decided it would not be the most interesting thing about her. Every room changed when he entered it, not because of his crown, because every person in the room could feel something ancient arrive with him, something that knew their name whether they wanted it to or not. And then the thing that had whispered to him every day of his life for 30 years, the thing that knew every soul in every room before he did, went completely, utterly silent. She did not know why she kept looking. She only knew that for the first time in her life something felt like it was looking back. Not at her, through her. Like eyes remembering a door they had been locked out of for centuries.
You arrived without a shadow, in a kingdom made of them.
I was born this way.
I know. That's why I crossed the room.
Your shadow has been silent since you walked in. Does it often go quiet?
Never. Not once in 30 years.
That is interesting.
No one had ever named it aloud to him like that. So directly, so matter-of-factly, as if she were simply reporting the weather. He felt something he hadn't identified in years. Elder Voss had been watching for this moment for 11 years. He had given up his memory of spring, of his mother's face, of the first language he had ever spoken to purchase the spell that would tell him when the prison's key had finally been found. The Order of the Hollow Suns had spent a century waiting for the prison to show a crack. Tonight, in a reception hall full of candles and courtly pretense, the crack had finally appeared. And Voss had already begun to spend the memories it would cost to widen it. It had been hours since the reception. He had dismissed his attendants, removed his armor, and stood in the dark trying to understand what had happened inside him when his shadow went silent. He could not name it. He was afraid he already could. She had spent a lifetime being the absence, the place where a shadow should be. She had studied it, catalogued it, made peace with it, or so she had told herself. But tonight she kept thinking about the way his shadow had stopped.
Why did it stop? The shadow is never silent. Unless it already knew me.
She had come to the library for answers. She had not expected the answer to already know her name. The text was 2,000 years old, and it described her exact condition, her exact nature, and what she was designed by something far older than the kingdom to do. He trained before dawn because the shadow was calmer in the dark. He trained until his muscles burned because the burn was real, and the realness of it was the only thing that sometimes drowned out the whispers.
Early for a scholar.
Early for a prince.
The shadow woke me. You?
A book. I found a book last night. 2,000 years old. I believe it was written about me.
And about me.
Possibly both of us.
What did it say?
That the girl without a shadow is the only one who can hold the prison's door.
Or open it?
You already knew.
Depending on what she chooses, the text says that.
Depending on what she chooses, yes.
And have you chosen?
Not yet.
They stood in the dawn without speaking. The shadow was silent. And somewhere behind them, Elder Voss paid for one more spell with the memory of his own name.
The key has found the lock. When do we move? When the prince makes it irreversible for us, we simply wait for him to fall.
The king had known this day would come. He had watched the sorcerer's daughter for years, not out of carelessness, but to control what happened when the moment arrived. By the time he reached his chambers, he had almost convinced himself the shadow's silence meant nothing. He was already exhausted by the lie.
Your daughter spoke to the prince this morning, alone. She seeks knowledge. It is her nature. Her nature is going to become a problem, Aldrich. It already is, for both of us. Keep her away from my son. If you cannot, I cannot. Not if she has already found the archive text. She found it. Last night.
The king had hidden the order from Kael. What surprised him was realizing Kael had known anyway. For the first time, he looked at his son as someone he had underestimated. Every portrait told the kingdom's chosen story. The older she grew, the more she noticed what was missing. Someone had been careful about what history remembered. He had been heading to the East Wing. He had not planned to come this way. He suspected the shadow had steered him even in its silence. It was purposeful. He had stopped questioning its navigation a long time ago.
They painted him with 2 shadows, then hung him in the darkest corner.
They feared him.
They feared what they couldn't control.
Yes. Every carrier. They honor us in ceremony and hide us in practice.
This portrait is more honest than any of the others.
You're the first person to say that.
Has anyone ever asked you what it is like to carry it?
No.
Then I'm asking.
No one had ever asked him that. Not his father, not the physicians, not the generals who sent him to war because of what followed him. In 30 years, no one had asked what it was like to be him. That she, a stranger he'd met yesterday, was the first left him feeling exposed in a way no armor could protect. They lingered in the gallery longer than they meant to. They spoke little. They didn't need to. The shadow stayed silent, and for the first time in 30 years, Kael stopped listening for the whispers. The silence felt almost impossible. The court missed nothing. Before long, word was already making its way to the king, Elder Voss, and the order. Aldrich had never intended to bring Liora here. 4 months earlier, an unsigned letter bearing an impossible sunburst seal had made the choice for him. The order had not come as guests. They had come to complete a design. Every memory they surrendered moved it closer to an ending the kingdom's history had deliberately forgotten.
You recognized her. Don't pretend otherwise. I want to know what she is to you. And don't use the arm again. Use something I can read.
It gave no answer. But for the first time in his life, the shadow made a gesture he had never seen before, ancient, older than language, like the quiet acknowledgement of something greater. She told herself she was walking because she couldn't sleep, that she looked up because she saw a light, that she was only studying a mystery. She was a very poor liar.
The book said the key was never meant to stay in one world. She was meant to stand between them. I wish someone had asked me first.
She needed the older text referenced in the margins. If her theory was right, and she rarely was not, then the Order of Hollow Suns had not come for the shadow. They had come for her.
There you are. I was wondering when they'd stop hiding you. When they'd stop hiding us.
She felt it before she saw it. The bracelets her father had given her had been spelled to react to unanchored presences, entities without physical form, or entities tethered to something absent. They had never glowed before. They were glowing now.
I know what you are. I know what I am. You don't have to stand at the door. Come in.
It pointed to the figure in the mural, the one with no shadow. Her. And in doing so, confirmed something she hadn't quite been willing to state aloud, yet it was conscious, purposeful, trying, in the only way available to it, to communicate. In the oldest archive in the kingdom, the world's most powerful predator stood beside an ancient mural, patiently trying to explain itself to the only person who could hear it. Kneeling on the cold stone floor, Liora realized she had misunderstood everything from the start. He woke knowing something was wrong. Then he understood. The shadow wasn't quiet, it was gone. For the first time in 30 years, he was alone in his own mind. And instead of peace, he felt only cold. It was not a predator. It had never been a predator. It had been trying, in its own terrible language, to show him something for 30 years. And tonight, it had gone to find someone who could actually listen. He stopped in the archive doorway and saw Liora kneeling before the mural. In one terrible instant, he knew the prophecy, the order, and the kingdom itself had just become secondary. The mural began to glow. She looked up. For the first time in 2,000 years, the shadow, its prison, and the key stood together.